Good morning. I hope you're doing well today. I pray God will bless you richly throughout this day today. And I want to talk to you very briefly here about feeling inadequate to do what God called you to do. That feeling you have, and God's placed upon your heart to do something for Him, maybe in the church, or maybe it's a task outside the church, but working for God. And it's a common thing. It's very common for that to fall into our being, a feeling of inadequacy. And we need to realize that God when He calls someone to do something, He will bless them and equip them to do what God is calling you to do. You're not going to be the first person that ever felt like, God, I can't do that. I'm not able to do that, Lord. Moses, he gave God every excuse he could think of that he was not capable of being the leader of the nation of Israel to bring them out of Egypt into the land of Canaan. And we saw where when they got there and the spies come back and told the report that the people of Israel, the nation of Israel, began to feel inadequate to be able to go in there and defeat the enemy that was there and take over that nation. Their feeling of inadequacy brought upon them a punishment that all those who were of a certain age passed away, never got to see the promised land. But you know what? God will equip those whom He calls if they will just answer the call and then trust in Him to do what He's asked you to do. In 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 4, 5, and 6, it says, "And such trust we have, and such trust have we through Christ to Godward, not that we are sufficient of ourselves to think anything as of ourselves, but our sufficiency is of God, who also hath made us able ministers of the New Testament, not of the letter, but of the Spirit. For the letter killeth, but the Spirit giveth life." You see, he's saying there, no, we're not in ourselves. We are not adequate enough to do the job that God's calling us to do. But through the Spirit of God, through the Spirit that God will send to us, that will then enable us to do that God's called. There's churches throughout the world today that are in need of people to answer the call that God has placed upon their life. Now, I can tell you, when God was calling me into the ministry, believe me, I joined the line of those that were feeling inadequate to do such a task. And the day I answered the call, the first line of my devotion that morning said, "A feeling of inadequacy is not an excuse to answer the call for God." A feeling of inadequacy is not an excuse to answer the call upon your life. Today, if God is calling you to step forward and do something, maybe work in the nursery, be a Sunday school teacher, be an assistant Sunday school teacher, work in the financial part, work in the music part, whatever He is calling you to do today, He already has the plan to give you the knowledge and the ability to do that God is calling you. And you know what? When we get into the will of God for our life, we'll receive such a blessing that you can't even begin to fathom the blessing that will come your way. But one thing we can do, as long as we rely on God and not on ourselves, we call upon God. We ask the Holy Spirit every day to guide us and give us the ability to do that. He will do that. He will never call you and leave and walk away. So please today, if God is calling you to step forward into something for Him, answer that call today. And what a feeling you will have in your life and the blessings that God will bring upon you.